My son, Ricky Pike, was murdered August the 3rd, 2012, while trying to park in front of his new apartment. He had just moved to Logan Square with his best buddy from high school. And shortly, 2 months after, can you believe it? Just 2 months after he moved from home, I have to confess I wanted him to stay with me forever, but I was truly ruining his personal life. So the time had to come, and he did, and that was one of the saddest, if it is the saddest day of my life. This child is the reason why I found love. He taught me how to love. He taught me how to be a good mother, with all the flaws and everything. Rika called me, and when I heard her voice, I thought, oh, good, they're getting back together, because I really liked her. And she said, have you heard the news? And then I said, no, what? She said, well, Ricky has been killed. And I thought it was a joke. And then I thought, no, this is not what I'm hearing. And then I couldn't help it, but I collapsed. And on the couch, and I said, I remember that I screamed. And I said, no, it's not true. And he said, yes, it is true. I said, no, it's not. Yes, it is. And my life changed at that moment completely. I couldn't believe that someone that I had nurtured for so long, who meant the world to me and to his father, had been taken away. I said, I have done everything right. I know I have. I know he's doing well. I know he's extremely happy to be out of the house. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. And then she said it is. And she proceeded to tell me that he was riding the car with his buddy, who was moving away. And he was parking in front of the house, and he was going to take a shower to go to work, because he worked during the morning shift. He was going to school at night. He wanted to be a nutritionist. And she came to pick me up, and we went to the hospital to see his friend, who had been also shot. Luckily, he was alive, and he had got a bullet on his. A bullet has grazed his hand, so he was okay. And he looks at me and says, "Mrs. Pike, I'm so sorry. I wish I had taken his place. I wish it had been me and not him." And I said to him, don't worry about it. I am glad and I am happy that you're alive. He said, I want to be in his place. And I said, no, you know what, there's a reason for this. I know that you are alive because God decided that you're going to bear witness to what has happened. From the moment this happened until now, I have had a crash course on the legal system. I know how it works now, and I know how long it takes to get justice, and sometimes you don't. And I'm hoping that I will get justice. The suspect was apprehended shortly after the shooting, and he was held for 48 hours. there was not enough time to get corroborating evidence, and the state attorney's office decided to release him. In around March of the next year, he was finally apprehended. I believe it must have been February because it was snowing. There was huge snow. I remember someone knocking at my door, and there are these two police officers, a sergeant and a detective, and they had driven to my place on the, it was very dangerous to drive through that snowstorm. Nevertheless, they were knocking at my door, and I opened the door, and they were Sergeant Mitchell and Detective Lalo. They both said to me, we have him in custody. I was shaken to the core. I was physically shaken, and I just looked at Sergeant Mitchell and I hugged him. Mind you, I've never been a hugging kind, but that was, I just didn't know how to say thank you, and I just hugged him, and I remember, well, I also was, crying and all that, but my gratitude, and still now, was enormous. They could have called me, but for them to take the very dangerous trip that night, I do remember that storm. To just say we have him was the greatest gift. What changed between the time that he was held for 48 hours and the time that he was arrested was the fact that the detectives had been going through doing their investigations. They had to get corroborating evidence. They had to analyze phone records. They had to, get the details about the car and the people he was with, and at the time that the crime occurred. Obviously, they have enough. I cannot. They have not disclosed to me what they have, but they feel that they have a pretty solid evidence that at the beginning, when they released the assailant, I went to talk to the state attorney, and he told me, we cannot jump the gun because we can do it right now, but if we do it, you have 50% chances that your case will be successful. If we don't, your chances increase that this will be, a solid case. I also learned that you have to be an investigator. You become, in the day that this happens, you become an investigator, you become an activist, you become somebody who, in spite of the shyness, because I have never been before a spokesperson or anyone. I was camera shy, but then I realized that I had to forget all about it, and this was all about my son. That if I have to go in front of a camera and say and disclose my privacy, I would do that. And if I have to go to the police station and stay there and wait for hours in the middle of the, at 2, 3 in the morning, that was my job. That is my job as a mother. We have been going through the pretrial motions. The prosecutor has been trying to close her side of the discovery for about a month, and we're hoping that we can close on that facet, and then it's going to be the defense side to find, do their discovery or present their discovery, after which they are expecting to set the motions for, for a trial. The trial has not date has not been set yet because it's the time for the defense. The discovery on the side of the prosecuting attorney is almost over, but now we have to move into the defense. After they do the discovery, then the judge will ask for a trial date. Ricky's father and I are in court every single month. In our case, it is every 4 months. I mean, every four weeks or every 3 weeks. We have not missed one motion because I want to see him. I want to see the assailant, if it's only for a second. It is important to me. It is important it's part of my obligation. I have to do that as a parent, to honor my son.